Have you ever taken one of those psychological tests where they have you put a square peg in a round hole? If you can do it, they'll put you in a padded cell. But we're going to do it today. We're going to set the square sleeve into an armhole, and armholes are round. This one is terrific. You won't want to miss it.
So, What's New? Starring Vogue Sewing Authority, Mr. George W. TRIPPON.
Now, of course, we're going to start with the front here. And I want you to notice, please, that I have pre-marked this corner because we are going to stitch this with the regular stitch to reinforce the corner. Now, of course, most corners where we have a miter type of an insert should always be stitched because they protect and, of course, reinforce that area. And I'm trimming away the threads here, notice please. And then again, notice where I have reinforced this, I now clip. Now please, when you clip, stop clipping at least a 1/16 of an inch before that edge. Don't clip all the way yet. Please don't clip all the way. Then reach behind you where the rest of your garment is. And we will now put our shoulder seams together. And of course we double check. This is a lovely gabardine weave fabric. That's the right side of the fabric. How do I know? Because that's where the weave is. See all that lovely diagonal weave in there? I hope you can see it. And the back side we have marked. We are putting the shoulder seams together. Now this is going to be a lovely, lovely jacket, as I said. And I didn't have to go to a psychiatrist to put this one together, let me tell you. I didn't. Or did I? I don't know whether I put that square thing in the round armhole or not. I don't think I did. Well, I'm here, so I couldn't have. I've never seen a padded cell. I wonder why they put you in a padded cell anyhow. Why should it be a padded cell? Now look, please. The shoulder seams go together. Pin and match. Always match where the stitching takes place, and then match the notch and pin midway. This, of course, is pin basting. You will please pin baste. And of course this jacket is a very lovely type jacket that you can wear as an extra jacket with many of your coordinated outfits. Coordinated outfits. Some of the outfits I see some of the girls wear today have never been coordinated, let me tell you. I don't know what coordination is. They should go to the psychiatrist, I think. I'm afraid to tell them to go, though, because I'm afraid that they're the type of people who would put that square peg in that armhole. Now look, as you come to the edge here again, shorten your stitch. And of course trim as you sew. Pick it up, pull it out, lay it down, put it there, bring down the presser foot, and then bring the needle in. Take the pin out, never sew over pins, and start sewing with the short stitch. Go back to your regular stitch. See? That pin thought I was going to go over it. Fooled it. Then stitch down lower. Now, this is an unlined jacket. So we will be clean seaming. So when we clean seam, let's take off that little notch. It served its purpose now. We have used it. Now we'll abuse it by turning it off, see? And then you turn back the seam towards the wrong side of the garment, of course, and coming right straight along the edge here with the 1/4 inch, and this you gauge again with your eye. This is called, regular stitch, George TRIPPON. Thank you. This is called a clean seam. And you see, it's going to be lovely because when the seam lays flat, it's clean and it won't ravel. I'll be right back. Have some coffee. The side seam now. And we'll be treating the side seam exactly as we treated that shoulder seam. What do you mean you don't remember how we treated the shoulder seam? We sewed it together, didn't we? Then what did we do? We what? Clean seam. Oh, honestly, people just don't listen anymore. You know, it's like that old expression. What was the old expression? Oh, I wish I would get myself into these things. People see, but they do not observe, and you're supposed to observe. People listen, but they don't hear. People buy, but they don't pay. Somebody told me that one. Now, when you come to the end of that dot, turn the fabric all the way around and lock stitch manually. Hunt, a 2, a 3, 4. Hut, 2, 3, 4. That last one you didn't have to do, but I was taken back to my army days. Oh, those were terrible days, lovely days. We had a thing called the black market going. Oh, telling you, where's that black market today? I think it moved to Vietnam or someplace. Now look, open up the seam and clean a seam. You turn back a 1/4 inch, back towards the inside, and clean seam. Make sure you don't catch the underseam. Now, another thing, please, when you are clean seaming, you must remember, put on your remembering cap now, please. You got your thinking cap on? This fold edge must come just inside the edge of the presser foot. And that's what I am watching. I never watch the needle. And by doing that, I'm telling you, you saw the most gorgeous straight stitching seam. It just makes you sick. Sick. Now we come to the dot, and I'll just clean seam to there because we'll be doing a hem treatment shortly. And I will clean seam the other half. From the dot up, please. Those dots are so important. Turn this back a 1/4 inch. What do you mean, how do I know it's a 1/4 inch? I have my ruler here. Look. Oh! Eat your heart out, honey. Let me tell you. I measured so often that I can measure anything with my eye. And guess what? Now Uncle Sam's going to change all that. Now that I'm used to seeing everything in inches and quarters and all, guess what he's going to do? You've read about it in the paper, I'm sure. The metric system. Oh, my Lord. Well, I don't know how you girls are going to like the metric system, because now those of you lovely, lovely young girls who have a 26-inch waistline, in the metric system, it's going to be 128. Now, of course, I'll put back the other side seam, but I won't clean seam that because I have one other little section to do. Where are you? Make sure you put right sides to right sides. And may I show you a quick trippy trick? You'll love this one. Look, Ma, no hands. No. I mean, no pins. We mean no hands. Really, George TRIPPON. Lay the two sections together. Bring it down like this. Now, this is what you should practice on sometimes when you're when you're making yourself little nothings. Please bury the needle in there, George. At least 2 or 3 stitches there. Put the needle in. Oh. Don't be so violent, just because violence is all the thing now. Now, we match the 2 dots. Dots. Those I'll pin. I don't trust these dots. You know, have you ever looked out like this and you see dots going around there? Well, that's what happens here sometimes. So we stay that, and we have here. Now, we are doing this side, and remember 5/8 of an inseam allowance to the dot, and then lift, a turn, put it down, the zipper foot. Take 3 or 4 stitches. I'm not going to hut 2, 3 many more. Clip, and then we're going to do the other front corner like this corner, and it's been marked for me. And notice as I turn that, I pin it here, and then take it under there. Well, see, sometimes it doesn't even pay to pin things. Pins won't stick anymore. What's the matter with you? No points. And the whole point of the thing is that pins must have points. Did you know that, little pins? There. And then that is going to be the extension, and we trim here and off there, and then trim along here. Gorgeous, look at that corner. And then we're going to be top stitching that corner down with a 1/4 inch. And of course, my presser foot, luckily, is a 1/4 inch wide. So I gauge this by the outside edge here, and I'm going a 1/4 inch along here. I'm not watching the needle. I'm gauging this along the edge here. So I'm making a nice straight 1/4 inch seam line all along here. And of course, you have a piece of coffee. A piece of coffee. Don't have a piece of cake, have a cup of coffee. And I'm going to be right back with this and finish it. Now, of course, I'm going to be setting in this square sleeve in the armhole. And armholes are round, they told me. Don't you believe it? Now, of course, we have clean seamed the seam of the sleeve. And, of course, I had time on this one side to clean seam the underarm here. So you make sure that you are, looking into the armhole this way. And you bring it down to the sleeve here, and you match the underarm of the garment to the underarm of the sleeve, which has been clean seamed, and we join the seam, as a seam must join where the stitching takes place. Joined seam. And as that preacher man said, what George TRIPPON has joined together, let no man tear asunder. So you be careful how you lift your arm, because you see I'll be putting one row of stitching in this, and then a lot of people, in this square armhole will sometimes do a second row for reinforcement. I am pinning from the underarm to that mitered point. Remember where we had reinforced that and then clipped? You don't, huh? Well, then pick up your pattern and look at the directions again. You're going to remember these things, really. Can't let me do everything for you. Now look, when we come to that corner, it's actually like a corner. An open corner. Who ever heard of an open corner? Open corner. Now, pin midway. Midway between that point and this point. Now we are in the armhole. Oh, there it is. And here we have the shoulder seam, which has been clean seamed. Here we have a big dot. You know what that dot is? Look at the pattern, darlings. That is the shoulder area point. So you match that dot to the shoulder, and then you match notch to notch. Oh, notches came out right. There's nothing worser. It's bad enough to set a square sleeve in an armhole that isn't round, but it's even worse to set in a square sleeve where you have notches that don't match. Look how I've pinned. Pinned in between these areas. There are your matching notches. Please match your notches. Now, pin here and pin midway. Doesn't that fit in there beautifully? Keep the outside edges together and then pin again with just the tip of the pin. Here, of course, will be coming from this side. Now, when you actually sew this, please, I prefer myself to sew from the side where I can see my mitering. Right? Right. You do the same thing. We will start at the underarm here, please. And we'll be sewing on around the armhole section. Now, please watch this. I'm sorry, I have to turn this around so I can gather it from this point. We're going to be sewing from this corner down. I'm going to be starting at the underarm section. Okay. The underarm section, I'm coming in at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. 5/8, pardon me. 3/4. And then stitch. All right, George, what is it? 5/8. Oh, I double check everything, let me tell you. Then you come over to that corner. Now that corner, of course, here is that little dot. See that little dot there? So to that dot, I'm checking here that I'm going to be catching that mitered corner section, because that corner has been open for me. I come right to the dot manually, lift, take out the pin, and then I turn the entire sleeve area here, please. Bring the presser foot down, and now you are going around the armhole section from the corner of the square up over the shoulder area and continue that way. Notice when you are doing a sleeve, because the fabric is actually off kilter, semi-biased as it were, not on the true grain line, but it does stretch a bit, so we still have to control as we sew. And of course my shoulder seams there are open. I could feel them. I continue here with my 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way. Now I'm coming down to this corner here, and please watch this well, because this dot on this side, you see with this corner here to that dot, is the mitered corner. And you see, I can see the pin right there. That's very important. Take your time here. Now, of course, I repeat, for those of you who are novices, I always thought that was a nun who was studying. A novice, I think it is too. That's a beginner. You know, come down to that pinpoint, right down to that pinpoint. Now, of course, I have pin basted, and I repeat, I take out that pin. But as I was telling you about novices, now pull all that out of your way, that way, and then come this way. That it would be a good idea for you people who aren't so sure of yourself as I am. And sometimes I wonder about me, really. Oh, it's like that marvelous expression in that newspaper. How is it? Everyone's crazy but me, and sometimes but thee and thou, and sometimes I wonder about thou. Now, excuse me a minute. Please, excuse me a minute. Oh, gorgeous. In the corner. You know, I don't trust myself sometimes. Oh, come now, really? Where are you? There. Look, 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 look. Oh, oh, oh. Square, honey? You couldn't be any squarer than that. Let's see the other side. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, of course, what you people will be doing is laying this seam off in this direction. And I would advise at this point, actually, that you press all this nice and firm. Because actually, if you looked at the original model in the opening, and I certainly hope you did, because, you know, I keep saying people see, but they do not observe. We're going to be top stitching this all the way around the armhole. Top stitching this. So, with the top stitching on that, we will have the finished sleeve. And notice how beautiful this is going to be on the inside, because when we top stitch along this edge, if you follow the directions, you'll know exactly how to finish your edging in here. Now, really, what do you fold over there for? We'll have none of that corruption, please. So uncorrupt your corruption, please, if you can. There, see, I uncorrupted it. And then restitching. It's just a twist there. So you always double check. You never know who's watching you, you know. There, isn't that beautiful? Lovely. All right, the collar. And then I'll show you how we set on the collar. You'll remember, please, that this was the whole object of this lesson, and it's so gorgeous. The square armhole, even on me it'll look good. Let me see how I look in the square. Everybody says I'm such a square. Maybe I should have square armholes in my clothes. Who knows? There, isn't that lovely? Oh, I'm telling you. Now the collar. The crowning glory. And look at this collar. The collar with the foot. The collar with the band. Oh, how beautiful. Okay, good. Now, when we put the collar on, we put the right side of the garment up towards us. Right? Right. Please, how are you twisted? Make sure your garment isn't twisted. Oh, George TRIPPON, back to school with you. There, it's untwisted. Pin the collar, please. Center back. We have a center back notch there. Center back to here. And we have a dot here, which matches the shoulder seam here. Match it there. And pin at the 5/8 inch point, please. Then you'll be matching a notch here at the front of the collar to there. And then open up the foot, as I call it, the band, really. And match in here, right to that seam point there. And put a pin there tightly, please. See, at that fold. This will ease in because the collar being biased, we stretch as we sew. You sew as you stretch, and you stretch as you sew, and you stretch yourself in the morning, and you'll get a flat tummy. Now look, you come here, please. Again, the dot to the shoulder. And then notch to notch. And then extension end of the band open. Please, where'd you come from? No loose threads, please. Bring that fold edge. Let me show you more clearly. The fold edge right to that seam. Put a pin there. And we are ready to stitch in the collar. And as long as we've had that stay stitch here, you may find that sometimes if we clip in here, it will help lay the collar in there nicer. The band is open. I lay this down under here. Bring this here. Bring the edges together. And away we go around the neck. Right sides to right sides. Matching notches to notches. And then that little stay stitch that we have there, we stitch on the other side of it so you don't notice it, please. And see in here, it's good. Clip where necessary. And darling, there it's necessary. So, please, we'll finish sewing the collar on along here, all the way around to the other edge here. And of course, once we finish the collar at that edge right here, I'll be clipping again in a couple spots here to release this for me. Right to the center front extension there. Good. Come up. Our collar is on, ladies, and then you see what we do with the collar. We lay this under after we've trimmed it, turn this under here, and pin along here, and turn your edges here at the front, and look at what a beautiful clean finish you get here. And then, of course, you trim here like this, and you pin here, and keep pinning this, and of course, then we will slip baste this, and you will really love the way this collar will lay on you. You'll really, really enjoy it. So please remember you're going to be trimming and stitching. And I'll see you in a minute. So you see, ladies, we can set a square sleeve in a round armhole. I did it. And if I can do it, you can do it. So please, ladies, won't you please, please do it for me? I think you'll enjoy this, and it'll be very lovely. Ciao now.
Consideration provided by Vogue Patterns and Unique Zippers.
Have you ever taken one of those psychological tests where they have you try to put a square peg in a round hole? If you can do it, they'll put you in a padded cell. But we can do it with Vogue Pattern 8672. The instructions are so easy you can't miss. This shirt jacket is great with skirts, pants, anything. Sewing with your Vogue pattern is not only easy, it's great therapy.